Self-improvement saved my life, and then it ruined my life. Let me explain. I was 19 years old when I stumbled on self-improvement. Now, prior to finding self-improvement, I was about as down bad gets. In February 2020, I was a broke college dropout working at a low-end, dead-end retail job. I worked at H&M for $11.25 an hour, rotating between the cash register, the fitting room, etc. I had a pipe dream of being a content creator, but I was making absolutely no money whatsoever, and I was about $3,000 in the hole as far as my initial investment went in content creation. And I was spending pretty much every weekend in Deep Ellum, which is where all of the biggest bars and clubs are in downtown Dallas, interviewing drunk people every weekend, people that I did not want to interact with. And on top of that, I was a virgin. I had never had a girlfriend. As a matter of fact, I had just been on my first date a few months prior, and that did not work out whatsoever. My dating life was absolutely miserable. It was abysmal, and it was very depressing and demoralizing for me at the time. And to make matters worse, just prior to February of 2020, I finally found somebody that I believed I could build this pipe dream with. I found somebody that I felt finally understood me the way that I wanted to be understood. And then she friend-zoned me. She friend-zoned me, and I was back to square zero, not even square one. Down abysmal, down atrocious, and depressed. As a matter of fact, this was around the time that I had to put the suicide hotline in my contacts. Granted, I never actually called them, thankfully, but I knew that if things kept going the way that they were, one day I very well might have had to. That day never came, because instead I stumbled upon self-improvement. Oh, and also another thing that was going wrong with my life at that time, I was dealing with two chronic health issues. The first thing was a slipped disc in my lower back, which meant that I basically couldn't even touch my knees. Okay, I was 19 years old, I couldn't touch my knees. Imagine that. A few months prior, I was dunking a basketball at 5'9", and now I couldn't even touch my knees. And in addition to that, I was also dealing with chronic eczema. Anyone who has ever dealt with eczema or any sort of skin condition whatsoever knows how psychologically debilitating that can be, especially when you're working retail and you're constantly in front of people. I know for me personally, that added a lot of fuel to the fire of my depression. Now, how did I stumble upon self-improvement? I stumbled upon self-improvement the same way that you stumbled upon self-improvement. I was at that low point in my life, and I saw a slight beacon of light off in the distance. I was in the darkest tunnel, and what I found is that when you're in the darkest tunnel, even the smallest amount of light becomes much more visible to you, no matter how far away it is. And for me, self-improvement became that light. So around March of 2020, which was when quarantine started, I quit my job at H&M to go full-time on YouTube. Granted, I was making ASMR videos at the time, but that's pretty much irrelevant. I quit my job to go full-time on YouTube, and I locked in on self-improvement. No fap, working out, skincare, everything that self-improvement entails, and then some. And lo and behold, it actually changed my life. Not just because it allowed me to change who I was as a person, but once I started documenting that process, it allowed me to make that transition into being a full-time content creator. So in that way, self-improvement saved my life. A few months later, I was able to take the suicide hotline out of my phone contact list, and it hasn't been back there since, and it never will be back there. But that said, how did self-improvement change my life in such a short amount of time? Well, the answer is simple. I instilled healthy habits that brought me to a place of knowing that I was in control of my own life. Now, one of those habits in particular was very, very integral for me at the time, especially given that I had skin conditions, chronic skin conditions, and that was skincare. Implementing a skincare regimen really helped me take accountability for my health and by extension my life. And if you're in a position where you are dealing with a skin condition or you're just not really looking the way that you'd like to look, I have a solution for you. that brings me to Hanley, the sponsor of today's video. You've heard me talk about them before, and you're going to keep hearing me talk about them moving forward because I know the positive impact their products will have on your life. Seriously, I still think some of you don't believe me when I tell you just how much implementing a quality skincare routine will improve your confidence in all aspects of life. Hanley simplifies the process of taking care of your skin. They provide you with all of the products you need and none of the products that you don't need. I recommend you start with their level 1 skincare system, which comes with all of the basics: a daily face wash, an exfoliating scrub, an AM moisturizer with SPF 20, and a PM moisturizer. Oh, and to make it dead simple for guys like you and me, they provide this instruction card in every box that tells you when to use each product, how much of each product to use, and in what order to use each product. It definitely comes in clutch. Skincare wasn't always something I took seriously, but now that I have, I wish I would have started sooner. But you don't just have to take my word for it, because they have over 7,000 5-star reviews from customers all around the globe. In addition to amazing skin, members of Hanley get tons of benefits, including at least 20% off the retail price, access to exclusive monthly deals, the ability to pause or cancel your subscription at any time, and free US shipping. And because Hanley is sponsoring today's video, they're offering my viewers, which is you, an amazing deal. Just click the first link in the description or the pinned comment of this video and get 30% off your first box, 20% off for life, and a free gift. The free gift being either the Hanley shower scrubber or the Hanley nail grooming kit. That's over $40 worth of potential free gifts that all men need. Click the link below and get started today. Now, in addition to skincare, another habit that I implemented and stuck with throughout the entirety of these past 4 years now was working out. Prior to that, I had worked out in the gym sporadically. I would rely on motivation to go to the gym for maybe a few months at a time, and then I might take a month off to focus on YouTube. And you know how it is when you're busy with work and you're also trying to work on your side hustle to turn it into your main hustle, and you don't have time for the gym. Bullshit. You do have time for the gym. And what I found was during quarantine, by prioritizing going to the gym, or not going to the gym, but by prioritizing working out, I was able to instill that healthy habit. And I was also able to learn a valuable lesson about ego. Now, if you've never been to an actual gym, then let me basically set the scene for you. When you go to the gym, you'll see a wide range of different people there, different levels of expertise. You'll see beginners like yourself who maybe struggle to bench the bar like I did when I first started going to the gym. And then you see people who are literally bench pressing for reps what you squat for a 1 rep maximum. There are levels to the game. And this doesn't just apply to working out. That's actually one of the reasons why I think working out is one of the best practices for any beginner to self-improvement to implement. Because by working out, by going to the gym especially, you really get a good sense of the type of work that it takes, the type of commitment and dedication that it takes to get to the level that you want to get to. Go and ask anybody at the gym who has a physique that looks desirable, desirable to you, and they'll tell you that they've been at it for years, if not decades. Bearing that in mind, how does that apply to other aspects of self-improvement? Well, I have 2 words for you. Ego lift. These 2 words right here can make or break your self-improvement journey. Let me explain how. So if you go to the gym and you see somebody bench pressing 225, and you've never bench pressed before a day in your life, you can't even do 30 push-ups in a row without gassing out. If you go and try to bench 225 like that person, you are not going to make it out of the gym. As a matter of fact, you're not even going to make it off of the bench press at all. That will be your last day on this earth. So, bearing that in mind, why do people see someone like me, for example, who is able to make a living off of YouTube at this point, and assume that they can walk into the proverbial gym of YouTube or any other self-improvement or entrepreneurial endeavor and be able to bench 225, be it in the gym or in front of a camera? It doesn't make sense. And yet that's how most people's minds are programmed. And I'm no exception. I've been in this game for 4 years and I still struggle with this myself. I still struggle with ego lift. Let me get vulnerable with you. A few days ago, I was watching a video from Hamza. Now, I don't really watch too many videos from Hamza. As a matter of fact, I try not to watch that many self-improvement videos in general, just because for me, as a content creator, I feel like it kind of influences, even if just subconsciously, the way that I create content. And I like to maintain my sense of originality with my content. I've had this happen in the past where somebody was doing numbers that I wanted to do, and then I tried to mimic or implement their style into my videos, and it just didn't work. Cole Hastings was a great example of that. But with Hamza, I never really watched his content, not just because I didn't want to subconsciously mimic his style, but also because I was a little bit envious. Okay, if I'm being completely honest, I was a little bit envious of the success that Hamza has had with his YouTube channel. Okay, imagine you've been working at it for a year, 2 years, and somebody just pops up and blows right past you in all of the statistical metrics. That was me and Hamza. I watched him blow up on YouTube, and I had to sit there and watch how it shifted the trajectory of the self-improvement space as a whole. And it's not so much that I was envious of him in the sense that I wanted to trade places with him. I was more so envious of the results that he was getting. And so as a result of that, I really steered clear of his channel and his content, even though I already knew, and I still know, that he makes great content. A few days ago, I decided to put that envy to the side, swallow my pride, and go and watch one of his videos to see if I can pick up any game from him, if I could absorb any sort of tips and tricks on how to grow my own YouTube channel. And he posted a video recently called, "If I Had to Start Over on YouTube, This Is How I Would Get to 1 million subscribers." Something to that effect. The video didn't even perform that well, but that's the video that I chose to watch. And he was basically explaining all of the tactics that he uses, and everything that he said made sense. And so I started thinking to myself, Hamza's really not a bad guy. He's just a guy who understands the game. So let me watch another one of his videos. So I decided to watch his video about the morning routine that got him to $100,000 a month. Now listen, this is a goal that I've had for a long time. I'm talking about since I was 18 years old, and I stumbled upon DDG and Jay Rich, other dropshipping YouTubers. If you know, you know. If you don't, then maybe one day you'll find out. But I have always wanted to make $100,000 a month, and I always wanted to do it at a young age, and Hamza has found a way to do it. So I figured if I can learn something from this routine that he's doing. By the way, this video didn't get a lot of views either. Just goes to show where people's minds typically are as far as self-development goes, and their willingness to implement the habits that they need to implement to achieve the results that they desire. But I decided to go ahead and add 1 view to the view count of that video, and in the video he explained in great detail the absolutely diabolical daily routine that he has followed religiously in order to get to $100,000 a month. And while I was watching the video, I came to a realization. I realized the reason why he got to where he is because he knows the game, and he's willing to make sacrifices that I am not willing to make. I'm not willing to wake up at 3:30 a.m. It is not that important to me. To him, it was, and it still is, and I commend him for that. Now I can see beyond the envy, and I can understand that he's just a guy who learned the game and applied the principles that he learned consistently over time, and that's why he was able to progress past me. Why am I telling you this? I'm saying this to say that me thinking that I won't even say got lucky, but me just being envious of the results that he got without having respect for the process was a great example of ego lifting. And I know that there are a lot of people out there who might even feel the same way about me, or anyone else who's achieved any degree of success in their lives at a young age. And it's interesting to be on the other side of that and to acknowledge the fact that, hey, I want what that person has, but I don't know what they went through to get it. And once you find out what they went through to get it, suddenly you start to question if you really want it that bad. You see, if you could trade places with me right now, be a full-time content creator, and literally just talk about your life to make a living, I'm sure that you would at the very least consider it. Not to say that you would trade places in all aspects of life, but just that one aspect of my life, I'm sure you would at least give it some degree of consideration. Because from the outside looking in, I'm sure this looks great, and it is great, and I'm grateful for it. But what if I told you that you have to go through everything that I went through in order to get to where I am? What if I told you that you had to get your heart broken the way that I did? Or that you had to go out and film those public interviews to build up your social skills so that you could at least get comfortable talking in front of a camera and improvising and just become better at your craft. Become consistent and develop that work ethic and that hustle mentality to continue going. Would you still see my life right now as desirable if you knew what it took me to get here? Maybe, but probably not. And that's the biggest issue that I've come across with self-improvement, is that I feel like most self-improvement content creators spend a lot more time, and by the way, I'm no exception to this, but a lot of us, we spend too much time showcasing the results. We show the best parts of our lives. Now, granted, I do feel like I've done a pretty good job of showing the less desirable parts of my life, which I'll get to in a second as well, but a lot of us, we showcase the best parts of our lives, and because of that, people like you aspire to elevate themselves to reach a level that, truthfully, I won't say we're not reaching, but we're not living at a constant rate. We're showing the best of our lives, and because of that, we're leading a lot of people like you astray. Now, that being said, even as a content creator myself, I've been in your shoes. I've been in your shoes even while I was creating content, and here's how. You see, I always wanted to be rich. I wanted to not just have a lot of money at a young age, but I wanted to have nice things at a young age, because I saw people like DDG, for example. He's not a self-improvement content creator, but he was one of the people who showed me that it was possible to achieve great things, and because I believed that it was possible to achieve great things, I committed to self-improvement. You don't just do self-improvement for no reason, you do it because there's an outcome that you want to achieve. And if there is no outcome that you want to achieve, that's probably why you're struggling with self-improvement. But I had it in my mind that I wanted to get nice things at a young age, even if I had to overexert myself or go beyond the boundaries of what was financially responsible for me. And I didn't just go beyond those boundaries, I pretty much acted like they didn't exist. When I was 21 years old, I got my first taste of making some decent money on YouTube, to the tune of maybe $4,000 or $5,000 a month. Not rich or anything like that, but for a 21-year-old who was still living with his parents, that's a lot of money. Okay, I was eating out every other day, buying clothes almost every week, and I was still able to stack up a lot of money. I was basically young rich in a sense. Eventually, I built up some savings and I moved out of my parents' house into a luxurious apartment in an affluent suburb of Dallas, Texas. And to go along with that, I also traded in my fully paid off car for a brand new 2022 BMW 330i. Oh, and by the way, I leased it on top of that with no money down. So suddenly I have $3,500 a month in expenses between the apartment, the car. I was also paying for therapy, and I didn't really qualify for any of the financial aid, and just a lot of other things that I really had no business paying for. The fact that I can't even remember what my budget consisted of, that goes to show you how absent-minded my decision-making was at the time. So I found myself in a position where my bills were $3,500 to $4,000 a month, and that was fine when I was making $5,000 a month or even $6,000 some months. But no one told me that there were ebbs and flows. I didn't realize that that $6,000 would soon turn into $3,500 a month, $3,000 a month, and even below $3,000 a month. By the end of 2022, I was living in my car. I was living in my car. Why was I living in my car? Because I made very dumb decisions, financially speaking, based on unrealistic expectations that I set for myself, based on a content creator or a group of content creators who only showed the best parts of their lives. And in that way, self-improvement ruined my life, because I was doing self-improvement with the idea that I should be like them they're not even like them. That's not to say that any of these content creators that I've mentioned in this video are fake, or even myself. I'm not fake. Okay, I document my L's as well. But I'm saying all of this to say that when it comes to content creation and self-improvement YouTubers, you need to be very, very careful about how you go about idolizing certain people. And not only that, but you need to consider the fact that if they are truly at that level, it took a lot to get there. It took a lot more than you probably saw in order for them to get there. Because most content creators at most will give you 10 minutes a day of content, maybe 20 or 30 minutes. That's only 30 minutes out of 24 hours. What about the other 23 and a half hours? What are they doing in that time? That's what you're not seeing. That's what you're not considering. You're seeing the money that I make from YouTube, or the fact that I can wake up when I want, or do generally within reason what I want when I want, but you don't see all of the years of sacrifice and of being thousands of dollars in the hole in terms of my initial investment to make this happen. So self-improvement ruined my life, but it doesn't have to ruin yours, because I'm passing forth this message so that you understand that I'm not somebody that you should idolize, nor is Hamza, nor is Cole Hastings, or Ice Cold JT, or literally any self-improvement creator, or any creator at all for that matter. None of us are people that you should idolize. You shouldn't idolize anyone unless you know their full story. And newsflash, you don't. Even if you think you do, you don't. Bearing that in mind, what's the best thing that you can do for yourself moving forward? The best thing that you can do for yourself is improve yourself from a place of self-improvement. Notice that the self comes first. Self-improvement. You're aspiring to be a better version of you than you were yesterday. And in a few years, if you continue to do that, if you improve on a day-to-day basis, you'll see a compounding effect, and suddenly you'll look up and you'll be in a position like me. Maybe a few more years after that, you'll look up and you'll be in a position like Hamza. But focus on your own journey. When you're driving a car, you want to make sure that you're paying attention to the road, not getting caught up looking at the cars beside you. Because when you do that, eventually you're gonna crash. I crashed very, very hard, and it took me a long time to recover, but I'm finally in a place where I've not only recovered financially, emotionally, psychologically, but now I've learned these lessons from my losses so that I can pass them on to you, so that you can avoid making the same mistake. And hey, maybe that's not enough for you. Maybe you have to go through it yourself like I did, but I hope you don't.